Welcome back, True Seeker. February 18th, 2021. Big news from NASA today. Reportedly, they're going to land the Perseverance Rover on the surface of Mars. But the question is it all a big hoax? Again, been exposing for years how everything NASA does, and I mean everything, is by the numbers. I have a long chapter about this in my first book, Letters and Numbers. And let this just add to the record. So there's a big relationship with the moon and Mars, as I covered in the book that I wrote years ago. And we'll get to that. But I want you to see that today, the day of this supposed landing, February 18th, the moon and Mars are in conjunction with one another. Something that doesn't happen that often. And again, today's February 18th, 2021. In Hebrew Gematria, the word moon equals 218. And again, today's February 18th. And of course, in history, we know about NASA's moon landing by the numbers. Or if you don't know that's by the numbers, we'll revisit that. And now again, another rover landing on Mars, which isn't new, but it's part of the ongoing storyline of NASA's legacy. So in Hebrew Gematria, the practice of coding numbers into words, moon equals 218. Now, there's a person writing articles about me in an Israeli newspaper saying that I am ruining Gematria because there's no evidence that there's any Gematria in the English language, which is absolutely nonsense and lies, and honestly not to be expected from people such as her. But notice, if you're new here, I've been teaching consistently for years the 4 base ciphers of the English language, which are a clear system used by NASA, the federal government, and used every single day, which you can prove every single day, as I've been doing since August of 2013, every single day. But the 4 ciphers are the alphabetic order, where Moon and Mars have the values in green that you see. The alphabetic order with the rules of numerology, which you see as the dark blue on the screen. The reverse alphabetic order, which just means running the alphabetic order in reverse. So Z would be 1, back to A is 26, as opposed to, the alphabetic order where A is 1 up to Z is 26. And then the reverse alphabetic order with the rules of numerology. And notice how in the base ciphers, Mars has values of 15, 51, and 57. And Moon has values of 15, 51, and 57. Outer space also has that gematria of 57, and conspiracy also has the gematria of 51 and 57, and many conspiracy researchers contend that the moon landing was actually filmed at Area 51. I can't say for sure that that's true, but I find it very interesting. The word federal is also 51, and as is Rome, which we'll talk about more later, because D.C. was once called Rome on the Potomac, and the Roman symbolism's everywhere in D.C. Of course, the Roman Empire has a lot to do with life as we know it on Earth. But again, the gematria and the parallels are undeniable. And notice how outer space and conspiracy are the exact same in 3 out of the 4 ciphers. If you watch the latest movie made by Hollywood about the moon landing starring Ryan Gosling, you'll notice twice in the beginning of that film, in the first 10 minutes, they put the number 147 on the screen. And I just want you to see how outer space and conspiracy are both 147. So are things like spaceship. Very special number to the Freemasons. The word Freemasons, 147. The Jesuits and the Freemasons are directly related to each other. The Jesuits created modern Freemasonry in Washington, D.C. The Jesuits have been there longer than the federal government, and the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry came in right behind. But again, these numbers are special. So, here's what else is very interesting about this. Today's date numerology is 61, and planet Mars has the gematria of 61. Mars is on a 47-year cycle, and the word time has gematria of 47 forward, 61 in reverse. And realize, all of these rituals are done in time. Again, our language was given to us by the Catholic Church and standardized with the spellings we use to used today, shortly after the Jesuits were created in the 16th century, and at the same time the Gregorian calendar was given to us by the Catholic Church. We'll bring all this together a lot more clearly in just a moment. But again, time has that gematria 47 and 61, like planet Mars is 61. Rome also equals 61, and Mars is the god of war to the Romans. So Mars on the 47-year cycle, time 4761 on the 61 date numerology, on the date of this conjunction, corresponding with the planet Mars. All these things come together. And the launch date for this rover was reportedly July 30th, 2020. That was the 211th day of the year, which is the 47th prime number. It was also a date with 57 numerology. And again, Mars equals 57, as does rover, as does moon, as does outer space, as does conspiracy. And what's interesting is from the launch date to today is exactly 203 days later. Heliocentric equals 203. And again, this is a model that came out of the 16th century in a close time frame to the Gregorian calendar being put out in English standardized with a 26-letter alphabet. But we're on the heliocentric model that the planets revolve around the sun, which to me, I tend to agree with that model based on how accurate, even if NASA is contriving a lot of their propaganda by the numbers, they still do have the mathematics down for when the planetary alignments happen, the conjunctions, the eclipses, the stars, all of that is perfect. I mean, they prove that every single day. Are they proving that they're actually landing on Mars with the CGI models they're going to show us? That's up to you. With regards to 203 days later, in numerology, zeros in the middle of numbers don't really count, so it's like 23. Percy has that gematria 23, and they're calling the rover Percy, which is short for Perseverance. And again, the rover launched on a Thursday. It's landing on a Thursday. Thursday is what is related to it is related to Jupiter, but it's also related to Zeus, who's the god of all gods, per the Romans, and again, all roads lead to Rome. If you didn't know this about NASA, their full name, National Aeronautics and Space Administration, it has gematria of 666, again, which is a biblical number. NASA, the acronym, has gematria of 35, like Thursday. Also like Satan, associated with the beast, and 666, the deceiver. And a lot of people will falsely claim that in Hebrew, NASA means to deceive, which is not true. You guys who say that, you need to research instead of regurgitate what you see in YouTube videos. And I don't ever expect anyone to take everything I'm saying, as truth. I expect you to research and check to see if what I'm saying is true. And in the 7.5 years I've been here, I've never misled. I have misspoken a few times, and I've always corrected my mistakes. But there are a lot of people who put out false information to mislead, and a lot of those people are in the flat earth community, and those same misleaders will routinely say that I'm a shill and I never expose NASA, which is a blatant lie. I have a book exposing NASA, something I don't know of any flat earther having produced besides Eric Dubé, who uses false measurements to prove his points. Anyhow, in Jewish gematria, which is the most important cipher outside of the base ciphers, which is based on Latin, which was the language of the Romans, Mars has that gematria of 201. And remember, heliocentrism also equals 201, as does the Jesuit order. And the moon landing in history happened July 20th, 1969, on the 201st day of the year. And the first astronaut to set foot on the moon was Neil Alden Armstrong, whose name equals 201. And if you think this is some sort of coincidence, I encourage you to look into the first Jesuit pope, Pope Francis, who was the first pope to live in Suite 201 at the Vatican. And you can look up what it's called. It's called the Domus Sanctae Martae, which equals 201, just like his birth name, Jorge Mario Bergoglio, equals 201, just like how the founder of the Jesuits, Ignatius of Loyola's name equals 201. And I'd also encourage you to look up Event 201, the coronavirus outbreak simulation, on the same day as the Military World Games in Wuhan, China, when the Military World Games were created by the Jesuits and the Roman Catholic Church. And they date back to 1995, and the Jesuits were created to counter the 95 Theses and recognized by Rome on September 27th, the day leaving 95 days left in the year. And shortly after the leader of the 95 Theses was killed, Martin Luther, who reportedly died from ill health, but I'm sure he was murdered, the Jesuits kill with arsenic, which looks like, when you die from arsenic, it looks like you died from the flu. But again, not to be confused with Martin Luther King Jr., who assumed the name of Martin Luther and who was assassinated on the 95th day of 1968, a leap year, right before the Club of Rome was established on April 7th, 47. Vatican 47, Francis 47, time 47. Special numbers. This nation's birthday, founded by a bunch of Jesuits and Masons, the 4th day of the 7th month. But again, Mars and Moon with the Gematria overlap. The other thing to think about with Mars is it is the god of war, and we're in 21, and war's 21, as is Jesuit, as is army, as is evil. I predicted at the beginning of the year we'd see some major Jesuit rituals in relation to war, and on February 1st, 2-1, the Burmese military overthrew their democracy, and that Democratic Party was established on the Jesuit day in history that they were recognized by Rome, September 27th. If you missed my video about that, go back and check it out. Right after that happened, good old Tom, Captain Tom, died in the UK exactly 201 days after he was knighted. And, of course, he was known as the Burmese war campaign hero in the UK. Again, all these things come together. Jesuits control the world, people's understanding of the world. You start to look into medical science. Pretty much all of our understanding of medical science comes from Jesuits. Research all of this, you will find it is all factually true. Cancer, completely controlled by the Jesuits. And you wonder why people don't get better and why people are profited off of their illness. And realize that's what the Catholic Church and Vatican is here to do. Dominate the minds of the masses, control the minds, control wealth. Look at the big palace they built for themselves at the Vatican, something Jesus would never live in. And that's assuming Jesus is even a real person, but just from the story we know about him, he was a man of modest means who wore a meager robe, hung out with the poor, the lessers. Again, everything's asked backwards, from science to spirituality in this world. And again, all roads do lead to Rome. And realize NASA collects about $60 million a day in taxpayer money. Just think about that. Imagine if $60 million a day was going to solve the real problems of the world rather than trying to land rovers on Mars, if that's even what's really going on today. So, and if one of these scientists who's responsible for programs like NASA was trying to tell us something when he died, Werner von Braun, on his gravestone, he has Psalm 19:1, the heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament, which is impenetrable, showeth his handiwork. Why would a rocket scientist have this on his grave? And by the way, this man, like so many in the world of celebrity and science and fame, died by the numbers. He died on the day leaving 198 days left in the year. His name equaled 198. He also died on his 86th day of his age, like blood sacrifice and human sacrifice is 86. And then that headstone 19:1, Society of Jesus 191, it just makes you wonder. Again, the Jesuits control the show. They're responsible for the world wars. They're responsible for the world as we know it. If you doubt it, research it. I promise you, you won't be able to prove me wrong. Until next time.